Imagine a world where ruthless criminals roam the streets, instilling fear in the hearts of those they encounter. A world where the flicker of humanity is overshadowed by the dark silhouette of malevolence. These figures, these harbingers of dread, are not merely figments of a grim fantasy, but real people who have plagued our history with their heinous deeds. Today, we are going to delve into the life and times of 5 such individuals who have been universally acknowledged as the scariest criminals of all time. These individuals aren't ranked by the severity of their crimes, nor the number of lives they've claimed, but by the sheer terror they've incited in the hearts of the masses. Their stories, their crimes, are presented in chronological order, racing through history from the foggy streets of Victorian London to the sun-drenched highways of modern-day America. Our first entry is a man who needs no introduction, a specter that haunts the annals of criminal history. He emerged from the shadows in the late 19th century, his deeds shrouded in mystery, his identity forever unknown. His reign of terror was brief, but his legacy is eternal, his name synonymous with fear. We're talking, of course, about the infamous Jack the Ripper. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Before we dive into the grim tale of the Ripper, let's set the stage. Picture the world as it was during the time of these criminals. A world where law and order were often nothing more than an illusion, where the line between good and evil was blurred and twisted. Each of these criminals emerged from such a world, their actions a dark reflection of the times they lived in. So, lend me your ears, open your mind, and steel your nerves. Prepare yourself for a journey through the dark annals of criminal history, beginning with the notorious Jack the Ripper. The year is 1888, and the streets of London's East End are haunted by a figure of terror, Jack the Ripper. In the heart of the city, where the gas lamps cast long, eerie shadows, a faceless phantom lurks. His name, whispered in trembling tones, is enough to send chills down the spine: Jack the Ripper. This mysterious figure carved a path of terror and bloodshed through the foggy streets of Victorian London, his gruesome crimes shocking the nation and the world beyond. The Ripper's reign was brief but brutal. In just a few short months, he claimed the lives of at least 5 women, their bodies mutilated in a manner so savage that it marked a chilling new chapter in the annals of criminal history. Each crime scene was a tableau of horror that left even the hardened police officers of the day reeling in shock and revulsion. Yet it wasn't just the brutality of the murders that gripped the public imagination. It was the mystery that shrouded the Ripper's identity. Despite the best efforts of the authorities, no one was ever brought to justice for the crimes. The Ripper vanished as suddenly as he had appeared, leaving behind only a trail of blood and a series of unsolved riddles. The impact of the Ripper's crimes rippled far beyond the East End's narrow, winding streets. His reign of terror gripped the entire city, and indeed the country, in a state of fear. The media, too, played its part, with sensational headlines fanning the flames of panic. The Ripper's grim exploits were discussed in hushed whispers in parlors and pubs, his name becoming synonymous with evil. The fear instilled by Jack the Ripper was not simply a fear of the darkness or of the unknown. It was a fear of the monstrous capacity for violence that lurks within the human heart, and it's this fear that continues to resonate more than a century later. Though his reign of terror was brief, Jack the Ripper's chilling legacy persists to this day. Fast forward to the Roaring Twenties, a time of jazz, flappers, and the rise of one of America's most notorious gangsters, Al Capone. A young man with a fierce determination and an unsatiated hunger for power, Alphonse Gabriel Capone, better known as Al Capone, quickly rose through the ranks of organized crime to become the undisputed king of Chicago's underworld. A city in the throes of Prohibition, Chicago presented a ripe opportunity for Capone, who capitalized on the public's thirst for liquor and the city's corrupt political landscape. Capone's reign over Chicago was no less than a reign of terror. He controlled the city's underworld with an iron fist, leaving a trail of blood and fear wherever he went. His involvement in organized crime was extensive. From bootlegging to prostitution, from gambling to racketeering, Capone had his fingers in every illicit pie. Yet, despite his notorious activities, he was seen by many as a modern-day Robin Hood, a man who took from the rich and gave to the poor. But Capone's ruthless tactics weren't limited to his criminal activities. He was also known for his brutal methods of dealing with rivals and those who dared to cross him. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929, where 7 members of Chicago's North Side Gang were brutally gunned down, is a chilling testament to Capone's ruthless methods. Although Capone was never officially linked to the massacre, it's widely believed that he was the mastermind behind the bloodbath. Capone's reign of terror ended in the early 30s when he was convicted for tax evasion. Yet his influence on Chicago didn't end with his imprisonment. The fear he inspired in both the public and his rivals left a lasting impact on the city, and his ruthless methods set a precedent for organized crime that still resonates today. Capone's ruthless reign over Chicago left an indelible mark on American history. In the late 1960s, America was gripped by a new kind of fear, one born of manipulation and madness, the fear of Charles Manson. A dark figure emerging from the summer of love, Manson's story is one of a charismatic leader who held an eerie sway over his followers, known as the Manson family. Charles Manson, a man with an uncanny ability to manipulate, transformed a group of impressionable young people into a murderous cult. A man of small stature but large personality, he convinced his followers that he was a Messiah, a reincarnation of Jesus Christ, and that they were the chosen ones, destined to bring about an apocalyptic race war he called Helter Skelter. The Manson family, under the spell of this deranged puppet master, carried out a series of gruesome murders in Los Angeles in the summer of 1969. The most notorious of these was the slaying of pregnant actress Sharon Tate and 4 others, a crime that sent shockwaves across the nation and beyond. The brutality and senselessness of the acts committed by the Manson family were beyond comprehension, instilling a deep-seated fear in the American public. Manson's charisma, his chilling gaze, and his ability to bend others to his will have made him a figure of enduring fascination and terror. His name is synonymous with the dark side of the human psyche, a testament to the power of manipulation and the vulnerability of those susceptible to such influences. The trial that followed these horrific events was a media circus, with Manson's bizarre behavior captivating and horrifying the public in equal measure. Convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder, Manson spent the remainder of his life in prison, leaving behind a legacy of fear and fascination. Manson's reign of terror serves as a haunting reminder of the power of manipulation. His story stands as a stark warning of the potential for evil that can lie behind a charismatic facade, a chilling testament to the dark corners of the human mind. The 1970s saw the rise of a new kind of monster, one who hid his true nature behind a mask of charm and good looks, Ted Bundy. In the midst of the disco era, a sinister figure emerged, casting a long, dark shadow over the United States. Ted Bundy, a man of charisma and intelligence, not only shocked the nation with his heinous crimes, but also sent chills down the spine of the entire world. Bundy was no ordinary criminal. He defied the stereotype of a hulking, menacing figure lurking in the shadows. Instead, he was a handsome, articulate law student. His charm was his weapon, and he wielded it with terrifying precision. Bundy lured unsuspecting women with feigned injuries or by impersonating authority figures. Once he had their trust, he would strike with ruthless brutality. His crimes were gruesome, spanning multiple states and claiming the lives of at least 30 young women. The true number may never be known. He left communities paralyzed with fear, women afraid to go out at night, and families huddled together in their homes. The reign of terror seemed endless as Bundy managed to evade capture time and time again, even escaping from custody twice. But eventually the law caught up with Bundy. He was captured in Florida in 1978, and after a high-profile trial was sentenced to death. His execution in 1989 marked the end of a chapter of terror that had gripped the nation for over a decade. Yet, it wasn't just the horrific nature of his crimes that made Bundy a figure of terror. It was his ability to manipulate those around him, to blend into society, to hide in plain sight. His charm and good looks, qualities typically associated with trust and safety, were the very tools he used to carry out his monstrous deeds. Bundy's terrifying legacy serves as a chilling reminder that monsters can hide in plain sight. His story is a sobering testament to the fact that evil can wear the most ordinary of masks, making it all the more difficult to recognize and combat.